Resistance to change is a normal part of the human condition. In fact, it's even neurobiologically wired into our mind body system to be wary of the unknown. If we don't know what to expect next, our brain, and especially our little friend Amy the amygdala, struggles to encourage us to lean in and be open to the novel situation awaiting us. And in many respects, that's exactly what change is. It's opening up by choice to novelty, to something unexpected. And remember that our brain is hardwired to keep us alive. Fundamentally, it has one primary directive, and that primary directive is to ensure that we keep breathing. And we'll go to the ends of the earth to make sure that that happens and continues to allow us to walk through this world. The difficult part, of course, is that our brain is developing and designing itself across the course of our lives. That means that we're learning as infants, toddlers, and children how to stay alive and be safe. Talk a lot about those three core values of the amygdala. How am I safe? How am I lovable? And do I belong? And how can I be successful? Maslow's hierarchy of needs, having a roof over our head, shoes on our feet, and food on the table. Well, guess what? Those patterns develop and become linked into the way our brain is filtering information and making sense of the world around us. And they follow us all the way up to adulthood and way beyond. And guess what? Nobody gets out of adulthood alive, as we know. And so those old patterns, if they keep us alive going into adulthood, can start to feel almost like concrete and flexible ways that our brain is experiencing the world. When we approach our brain with something new, those ways of being, those patterns will win and create resistance, roadblocks, barriers, and even an internalized churning and sometimes shaming that gets in our way of being able to lean in and try on something new. Our brain is quite counterintuitive this way and can create a great deal of disruption when we're trying to make healthy change in our lives. This can come from anything to picking up the phone and starting therapy, to knowing that it's ideal to get up a little earlier and perhaps do some stretching, or even just taking a walk midday to clear the head and help us move forward. I know that's something as a type A person I even struggle with. Can I take a break to allow myself to move and have my body and my brain take in some extra space and fresh air from the world around me? My pattern is to stay face down in the work and keep moving forward. All of us have our versions of these patterns, and they are coming all the way back from our childhood. Remember that 90% of the past showing up and creating sense of how our brain interprets the present moment. So the opportunity in this, of course, is that we hold the power of healing in our hands. Our brains are neuroplastic. Just because we've learned patterns back there that are impacting us here and now doesn't mean that our brain isn't capable of learning new ways. I'll never forget the first time my Nana sent me a text message, and I was like, ha, neuroplasticity at work. You can bet that growing up, she did not have texting in the 1930s. Right? So we can teach our brain a new way forward, and it requires slow, measurable, loving consideration and a leaning into the roadblocks and recognizing them for what they are, a way our brain is fighting to keep us safe, a way our brain is using the past to make sense of the changes that we're trying to make in the present moment, and honoring that that resistance is our brain loving us. High five, Amy. When we lean into our amygdala, Amy's core values, and recognize that the past is now in the present, we can create a sense of curiosity and cultivate a new inner drive to to know ourselves better. How did our brain develop into the entity that it is today? And how is that showing up in the behavioral choices that we're making or that we're struggling to make based on the learnings of our past? So I invite you to get curious. Imagine that resistance is a part of your brain working diligently to keep you safe and to love you desperately and passionately. And when we view it from that framework, Is there an opportunity to start to learn and explore about how your past is showing up in this moment and creating some unique roadblocks that you get to lean into and explore ways to come through successfully?